Hello, my friends. Welcome to Top 5 Photos of the Week. So every Monday, I put in new photographs in my gallery where you can go to at stormthebar.com and take a look at. We've been doing Death Stranding, the part of our Rogue Gallery, and I wanted to share my top 5 photos of last week and talk just a little bit about why I took them and, what my process is behind when I choose my photos and stuff. And I want to do this every week, and I want to discuss the photos I take during the week and my top 5 favorites that I took. So let's get to it. We're going to start with the first one here. We're going to go ahead and just drop this in. We're going to take this and we're going to scale it. Don't mind this for 1 second. Control F. I got to remember that. All right, so here's our first one. Now, I always found the interesting thing with Death Stranding is the ghost, the dead, mind you, whenever they grab you, they leave these kind of handprints, and you can see them in different areas like the environments, even your gear, stuff like that. So when you're in a situation and the BTs go off and you have to get out of the tar and everything like that, you'll notice that there's handprints left all over you and stuff. And I always thought that was kind of cool. It's almost kind of like, I guess, thinking about it like the Blair Witch Project back in the day, like how they had the handprints of the little children and stuff like that. I wonder if Kojima had like an idea behind that, or just like that's the impression left from the dead. So I thought that was cool. So what I did with this was I pretty much zoomed in to the backpack because that's really where they were the most predominant. And I wanted to show that off because, again, in the Rogues Gallery, we're talking about all the enemies and the creatures. So we want little things from the environment that they live in to impressions they leave behind. So in this case, the handprints. All right, let's go to number 2. We're going to drop in this one here. Control F. Control F. Hold on a second here. All right, this doesn't work this way. Okay, this is the thing. Control F. There we go. Okay, I gotta have it off like that. All right, we'll get better at this. This is the first one. All right, so this obviously Cliff Unger is coming up. This is the first time you end up in, not to spoil anything, but you end up in a very interesting reality, a different dimension almost, and you deal with a totally different side of this game, which makes a very action combat style, which I really enjoyed. It was a nice predominant. A lot of people look at Death Stranding and they think, oh, it's just basically taking one package. It's the ultimate mailman, right? So, in a way, yes, but it's also a lot more. It gets a lot more deeper than that. And this right here is one thing that showed it. Now, one of the things I really love when I first played this game, this scene of Cliff being brought in by these undead soldiers and whatnot, and being woken up, I thought was always amazing. And the way they just did it, the way Kojima had this idea of just these undead soldiers, like basically bringing their leader in and then protecting him as he's rising. So this scene was really cool. I had to grab a shot of this, Cliff coming up from this black tar and stuff, and these soldiers all protecting to make sure that he gets up okay and everything. So that was really cool. All right, let's get into number 3. Let's go ahead and Control F. No. Not going to let me do it. Control F. There we go. All right. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite villains in this game, Higgs, he's so sadistic and he's just so cool. And Troy Baker does an amazing job with the voice acting and just bringing Higgs to life in general. And I always found his character to be really cool. Now, he's the leader of the terrorist group that pretty much is your main protagonist throughout the entire game and stuff. You see him quite a lot, making appearances and like throwing some bosses at you and etc. etc. I'll try not to be too spoilery on it because I know that the director's cut out, so some people are just getting into it. But I found that I found that Higgs was pretty much an amazing character for me. I love good villains. I love good story writing when it comes to the two main villains and such, and just the sadistic nature of him. And you'll see that in the game. You'll definitely see that in some of the storyline. So this was cool because this is one of those times where he catches Bridges, Sam off guard, and pretty much sets out a boss after him. So with that, or he brings basically a creature from the he's come to know how to summon things from the dead and whatnot. These creatures, these black oily like monsters and whatnot. You can see more of these in the gallery. I've got pretty much all the bosses and everything in there. And it's great the way he does it. He just like, he pulls in this power and all these like this, all the dead come out and are just like, oh, bring us to life and everything like that and stuff. And he just pulls in this power and brings out this giant monster of a thing. And this scene right here, I thought was really cool. So I had to grab a shot, and luckily I caught it at a really good time, just when he's throwing his hand down inside this black oil to pull out this thing. And yeah, and the colors just, they popped, which was really good. And I really enjoyed that one. All right, so number 4. This is all new to me, don't forget. So we're getting little by little on this. So let's go ahead and grab this. Control F. So this was cool. Again, you brought into that other dimension. You're dealing with Cliffhanger, and you have some firefights with him. And I thought this was a cool idea to kind of see if I could. So I stopped. I dropped photo mode in as soon as the two of them were facing off against each other. This was not a cutscene. This was actually me, aiming up at him aiming down at me. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I, nailed it, which I thought was a really good shot. Having him up above, he's got the higher ground. You have Sam there who's aiming up at him and stuff. It's almost like it almost looks like a standoff in this picture. And I really like the way this came out. You've got like the lighting coming off from the Odrek, I think they call it. It's the radar thing that shows where the dead are and stuff like that. Then you've got like these coils, these like wire type things that are coming off a cliff, and they're sparking and everything. Not to mention, you could see right on the rock in front of Sam, you could see where Cliff, like, so when he runs off, he leaves these kind of like, almost like an impression of his boots and stuff like that, and they're almost kind of like a fire oil and stuff. And you could see that, you could see kind of going up the rock where he originally was going. So you follow those to go find him. And in this case, caught it at a good place, because this was, I ambushed him up top, and then he came back down at me. I came down the ledge, and then he stood at the top, I stood at the bottom, and that's when I caught the shot. Not to mention, you can get that nice shadow right there underneath Sam of him holding the gun up and everything like that. So this obviously, I think out of the top 5, this is probably my favorite shot. This was one that I was really, really happy with how I caught it and was able to get the rotation right, get the setting right and everything. So let's go into our 5th one here. Not to open it up there. There we go. Let's go ahead and, oh yeah, Control F. All right, so the BTs, obviously, big portion of the game. You're stealthing through them or fighting them, depending on, what your difficulty you're setting at, what you want to do, etc. I find the BTs to be really cool. Just these like black shadowy creatures that kind of float in the air. They've got like they don't really have a face. They don't have a lot of detail, but like when you see them and stuff, when they materialize, you get like kind of this shadowy form. And it's really cool. Now, this particular area we're in, this is kind of a destroyed building and whatnot, so you see a lot of them around here. And I wanted to get kind of a close-up, just kind of doing its thing, its natural, just standing there and almost kind of suffering, I guess, in its own right, as it just sits in the sky and waits until it sees something, so you can do this in one of two ways. You can stealth around it, and like, especially at this point, you can get an item that lets you cut the shadow cord that's holding it to the living still, or you can get caught by it and then fight whatever big beastie they throw at you and stuff to clear the area out, or you can stealth around it. So I thought this was cool. Whenever these come around, it's always raining, which in its own way is kind of difficult in the shot, but works out good in some cases because the rain just kind of emphasizes the area. And I thought, yeah, this was one of the ones I wanted to capture, and I was really happy with the way how I got the zoom in and was able to get a good, because whenever you zoom in on these things, it's kind of weird in photo mode. They actually kind of move around a little bit, like the shadowy substance and stuff kind of like alters it. So it's like you want to just make sure you pinpoint exactly how you want it to happen. So yeah. So those are my top 5 pictures of the week. I put a whole bunch up in the gallery and stuff. Every Monday we'll be putting them in. Every Monday, I think, moving forward, pretty much I'm going to try to bring out a video and talk about my top 5 photos that I found the best out of all the different ones I took, and obviously we're going to be changing games because once Death Stranding's over, we'll be moving on. I think we might be doing Star Wars next, or maybe Cyberpunk. Haven't decided yet. So we'll probably be voting on in the Discord at some point. Well, I would like to do Resident Evil. Resident Evil Village would be a big one, but right now I'm waiting for it to go on sale. So that's the next big one I would like to do, and I would love to get photos of that, especially with Lady Demascu. Is that how you say it again? I forget for sure. And their daughters and the wolves and all the stuff in that. And I think that would be really cool. Get a lot of cool pictures of the adversaries and stuff. But I hope you enjoyed this, and keep an eye out and head over to the gallery, and you can take a look at all the cool stuff that's being put up there all the time. Every week we're putting up the new photos from the weekly streams, and I'm having a lot of fun with this project. I absolutely love it. So yeah, those are my top 5 photos for the week. And I'll see you guys either in stream or I'll talk to you in the comments. And if you get a chance to go to the gallery, let me know some of your favorite ones, and we'll go from there. All right, have a great one. Be safe, be just, and as always, this is Storm the Bard saying, huzzah.